The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown.
Do you ever feel like you're being watched?
Do you believe in cryptids?
Have you ever seen one?
Supernatural or cryptid? What is it? On a friend phone. Oh, what's that? Have you ever had an experience with something unidentifiable? Are you afraid to tell your story?
Don't be. So we're here to listen.
We are the Southern Appalachia Sasquatch Seekers.
Hello, everyone. Hello. And we apologize. Apparently, the thumbnail didn't go out last week when I said it, or the other day when I said it for this show, and we didn't know it until today. But we have a special guest has a lot of knowledge and experiences on Sasquatch and Bigfoot, and I'm not sure about other cryptids, but his name is Renee, and he is Skidder operator in the chat. Correct, Renee?
Yep, that's me.
If you have any questions, just do like usual. He doesn't mind answering questions. Put them in caps, and Don will pull them up for him to answer for you. It's all right. Go ahead and just keep going. But we're going to start out with Renee. Tell us where you're from, where you live at.
Well, I live here in northeast Washington State, but I grew up down in northeast California. But I've been in the mountains since I was like 10, and I've been pretty much logging in the forest my whole career. And there's only one time I seen anything in the woods that might have been one. But that wasn't too many years ago, and I've been working in the woods for like 50 years. People say, well, I never seen nothing. I've been hunting and fishing and working in the woods. And most all the loggers I've ever knew, they say, oh, no, they ain't no Bigfoot. Well, I kind of disagree with that. And one guy I worked for a few years ago, he said he's seen him more than once, the boss. And on that job one morning, we're yarding trees up the mountain with a yarder. It's a big crane, and he made us do it in the dark with no lights. And them logs, when they come up the mountain, they're coming fast, and if they hit anything, they can hit a stump and flip through there and land on you. Oh, it's dangerous even with lights on. But he wouldn't let us run the lights. And I thought that was really strange. You could have a little headlamp, and that was it. Well, I kind of wonder if something wasn't throwing, before I come there, they had some trouble because of the lights and the noise. So they shut them off. But some of the guys that worked down over the hill at the bottom said they seen things hiding behind the trees and sneaking around. And the one guy says, well, it's just some other loggers that are spying on us. At 5 a.m. before daylight, they're going to hike up the mountain for miles and watch you? No. Well, the other guy was sitting chokers down there. He said they were Bigfoots, and it wasn't very long. He quit. That's the only crew I was ever on that said they seen them.
Well, it's kind of strange, isn't it? It makes sense but that's also very dangerous to run that kind of machinery in the dark with a headlight.
if the government got wind of it, they'd shut you down for sure. Or even just it was on state land. If the state forester knew it, he'd shut you down. It's crazy.
Well, maybe it was the state was in on it a little bit. Maybe they didn't want people seeing them. Telling
Well, you know what?
There, do you think?
That's a very good possibility. There's on that road, way down the mountain, there's a fork in the road that went to another piece of land I logged. And you know how they talk about trees being bent over and stuck in the ground like an arch?
Yes.
They're bowed over. Well, this one job, I was doing the cutting and the skidding, and all the steep ground on this piece of ground, there was trees pulled over and stuck in the ground over the top of the skid trails, and I had to cut all them down, and that was more work walking up and down them trails, cutting all that bowed over stuff, and I've never seen it in the woods anywhere in my life anywhere else.
Well, there's also a few years ago, you don't hear much about it now, but they were talking about, the trees that are upside down in the ground.
Yeah.
Those too?
I've never seen that. Well, a lot of the stuff I've seen in my life, I've just never paid no notice to it. And now some of it, now that I kind of know what went on, some of it makes sense and I remember it, but I'm sure there's stuff I don't even remember that was kind of weird. Like you see rocks stacked up along the trail somewhere.
Yeah.
That's pretty common. You see that all over. Nobody thinks anything of it though. They just think somebody stopped and did it. Right. Like I would never do that.
Now we were coming out from hunting a couple of years ago, and there had been nothing there like the day before, and there weren't any kids up there. I know everybody that's up there when we hunt, and they had stacked big rocks. I'm talking like 2-foot rocks down to like small ones and stuff right there on the edge of the creek, and it stayed there for a long time until I don't know if somebody knocked it over or what, but it had never been there before in 25 years. Yeah,
well. I started listening to, I was working for a guy doing some carpentry work when I was laid off here, 10 years ago. And he asked me, what do you think of Sasquatch? You believe in Sasquatch? And I said, no. He says, well, I've been watching that Sasquatch Chronicles and over there where he lives, there's a road just in his neighborhood called Bigfoot Road. And I found out there's been a lot of sightings over there. But I started looking at that Sasquatch Chronicles and then the other YouTube shows. I'm like, by God, I've seen that, I've heard that, and this kind of explains some of the stuff that I've seen. Well, it started, I can't remember everything, more stuff keeps popping into my head that was weird. But the first thing I can recall was I was 13 and me and my buddy went down to the creek fishing, and we walked clear to where the creek run into the river, and we fished in the river. And then we crossed this old rickety bridge to the other side, and some rich guy owned all this land, and it was all posted, keep out. And then it was Forest Service and Indian reservation around it, so nobody could get in there. It was all locked up. Well, there's this big spring. It had water coming out of this tunnel under the ground big enough you could drive a loaded log truck down in that tunnel. That was the coolest spring you'd ever see. You could find it on the internet if you look it up. But there was a road went by this spring, and there's a great big old 2-story house right there. And that thing looked like it might have been built during the Civil War. It was caving in. And well, me and my buddy went inside there, and in the back corner of the front room, there was a big old nest made out of tree limbs and lots of pine needles and stuff. And it stunk. God, did that stink. And we thought, oh, well, we figured that place was haunted anyway. And then we were pretty scared to go in there. And we seen that, and we'd like run out of there quick. Oh man, there's got to be a bear here somewhere. And I don't think that was a bear. Carried all that brush and pine needles in his mouth and built a nest in there.
Right. No, somebody was talking on the show just recently about in a house something. Because there's like a big mess in there of, like you said, leaves and limbs and things for a bedding, and a bear doesn't do that.
No, they wouldn't carry that in their mouth. No, they.
I'm sorry. The spring you were talking about, you said you could see it online. Can you give us the name of that?
It's Rainbow Spring.
And it's where?
Shasta County, California.
Everybody get that? Because I want to look it up later. Okay.
It's all been private property forever. Nobody can get in there, but I know there's pictures of it.
Right. Yeah, I was reading the notes from where we talked today. What's the early? So you told us about that when you're working. When were you actually really aware that they existed?
When I was up here in Washington.
When
What happened in California never did make no sense to me, and I couldn't figure it out. Like when I was I went and found that big old stinky nest when I was 13, but when I was 14, I used to go by myself when the snow melted, get all the dry creeks running and get the creek high. Well, there'd be all these sucker fish and squaw fish running up and through there. So I'd spear them, and throw them on the bank because they just eat up all the trout. The trout are laying eggs that time of year. And so I'd spear them, get the trash fish out of there so the trout could have more trout, And I never thought nothing of it, but I'd go and I'd spear 5, 10, 20 suckers a day and throw them in the trail. I come back the next day, not a trace. There'd be no scales on the ground, no blood, no fins, not. If coyotes had ate them, there'd be a mess there. There'd be some, even a bear or whatever. They would not just pack them all off. They'd eat what they wanted and then pack what they could. There'd be a mess, and there was never any mess.
There would have been droppings of fins and things like that there.
There was no trace of them fish. They're just gone. Something come around at night and picked them up and took them. It's not going to have an idea who it was. Wasn't no coyotes. Wasn't no bears. Because they'd eat them right there. And then there was nothing weird that I can recall till I was like 30. I was, we were logging this piece of ground that there's, I don't know, 100 acres or better in between this cliff and this creek. And it had been gated off for a lot of years. There's some really tall pine in there. Nice stuff. We didn't break the place or nothing. We just took all the real tallest stuff out of there. And the guy ended up selling it. And there's probably houses built in there now. But nobody was staying on that job at night except me. I was the only one staying there. And I had this little camper beside the haul road. And one night, there's this ravine just across the road that went up the hill and down the hill, and something come down that hill screaming like you wouldn't believe, like some woman being burned alive. Like you took a woman and threw her in a campfire and held her down. I mean, it was horrible. And then there's another one just like that coming up the ravine at the same time and woke me up. Anything wakes me up when I'm sleeping. That kind of makes me mad. I open the door, listen to that, and they both met right across the road from my camp, and they shut up at this. They got right. I could hear them coming, and when they met, they shut up and they started breaking wood. Like, that's wow. It's like 2x4s snapping, all kinds of them, just one right after another. And I just hollered at them, shut up. And they did. They shut up. No more sound at all that night. But then, I don't know, a week or two later, one come right up to my camper window and screamed one time just like that. I about had a heart attack.
Can you describe the one that you did see?
Well, that was just a few years ago. And that was up by the Canadian border. We were logging up there. It was a clear cut. And it was like 500 feet up the hill to the top of the cut. And I'm down in the landing at the road. And I'm the last guy there. Everybody else left already. I'm fueling up. And I get this funny feeling like something's stalking me or something, And I'm looking all around. What's going on? There's all of a sudden it seems weird. And for some reason, I got to looking at this big black thing standing way at the top of the cut. It looked like a broke off tree about 10 foot tall and is all black and never did move. So I can't say what it was, but I felt like that thing was giving me the evil eye and it was coming from right there. I got out of there as fast as I could. And that's not the first time. Because the first time I think I seen one, no, I didn't finish that other story about them screamers in California.
Go
Because,
ahead.
but it see,
It
they,
all
I,
when you get to
I
talking
told
about
them,
it, I understand. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. When you get to talking about it, we understand. It's just like everything wants to come out at once, and then we're asking you questions too. But you just leading wherever you want to go, okay?
well, it's hard not to just spit it all out because nobody wants to hear it.
Oh, everybody wants to hear it.
Well, I mean, everybody I run into.
Everybody here does.
Anyway, after these screamers came into my camp, it was I don't know, a month later maybe. My wife and kids come down and spent the night, and we went to church. And we was at night, and we was coming back, and I mean, this is like 40 miles from any town, and we're coming down the road 55 miles an hour, and there's this cut bank on the right side, about a 45-degree slope, and it's steep enough you wouldn't even want to walk up it, and loose dirt. Well, this thing come running down that hill from kind of behind me, and it was catching me, and it was coming so fast. I got over in the other lane. This thing's going to hit me for sure. I don't know what it was, but it was on 4 legs. It was hairy. It was big. And I never know. I only just saw it in my peripheral vision out of the corner of my eye. I could see that thing coming. I just had a split second to try and avoid it. And I got the impression it had long hair, a lot of hair and brown, but I couldn't see no tail or no head or nothing. Just great big body and 4 legs going like crazy. Well, this thing hit the car, stopped the car dead in the road, spun me around facing the wrong way. And it caved in the fender against the tire. It caved in the door. It bent the door frame back toward the back seat, so the door didn't want to shut right. It pooped all down the side of the car, and it just kept right on going. Just kept right on, just like hitting a big oak tree. Just boom. Now I can't say what that was, but I don't think it was no dog man. I'd have probably seen the tail,
Yeah. Well,
But-
you might not. A lot of times the pictures I've seen, it's kind of tucked between their legs, and you might not see it.
Well, them Sasquatches, they ain't got no neck, and they're, dog man does, and he got a big head. So I kind of feel it was a Sasquatch, and it was probably them, because it was only like 10 miles from where I was camping, and I think they were gunning for me. But I can't prove nothing. I never did see what it was, just what they did. That's, I pretty much wrecked that car. I still drove it to work, but it was messed up. And then there was nothing for years and years and years, nothing that I could recall. And I got up here, and craziest things that's happened right here at my house. There's been one job over in the next county I was logging, come to work one morning, and the trail I was working on, getting worked up to the steep ground, the trail was full of trees all pushed over. Like no machine went in there because that was already cut. Those trees that we left, got all pushed over and jammed the trail shut. That was weird. And I come to find out later, there's been a whole lot of Sasquatch activity in that area. And
Have you ever gone around and talked to people at all around the area? Did you? I mean, you're saying that you had to talk to them about some of it, or you wouldn't known there were encounters.
oh yeah. Well, that job right there where the trail got shoved full of trees, I asked the boss, I says, I don't remember what we was talking about. And I said something about Sasquatch, and the boss, he lived up toward the border by where I seen that big thing that looked like a broken off tree that was a 10-foot tall black. He lived right up in there where there's a lot of that activity. He said, well, I don't think them things are real. Well, I kind of have a suspicion some of these guys are just saying that so they don't look stupid.
Yeah.
Because I've only run into one guy my whole life that's ever said he's seen him in the woods. And that's the guy I was working for where we was logging in the dark.
Right.
And out here at home, I've heard them rock clacks sound like beating rocks together. I've heard that here. And then I had a couple horses up here that belonged to my daughter for a while, and something big come around once in a while was in the brush. He had been snorting really loud at him, and the horse would snort back. And it didn't sound like no deer. And supposedly they take and braid horses' tails and manes
Yes.
Well, my daughter used to have to cut that stuff out of the horse's mane every year. So that's kind of suspicious too.
Was there any like marks or anything, like claw marks or anything on the horse? Scratches, yeah.
No, not that I could remember. No.
Okay.
Well, at the time, you're not even thinking about Sasquatch. You know, like you said, after you start having a lot of things happen or see a lot of things, even sign in the woods and everything, it starts kind of piling up and making sense after a while.
Well, the thing is, I've figured out a lot of this stuff just from hearing what other people's happened. You know, that happened to them. Like, well, that's what happened to me.
And that's exactly why we need to toughen up and come out about this stuff, because somebody out there's dealing with all of this and they don't know who to talk to.
And they're scared half to death.
Yes, scared for them and their families too. And they need to know that there's somebody out there that probably can help them. And we need to share.
Well, I think Jesus is the ultimate help. If you use his name, you can repel almost anything.
I agree.
You just tell them, get out of here in Jesus' name, and they got to go.
But knowing that other people have you know, experienced what you're going through helps a lot too.
Oh, yeah. And it helps you make sense of what went on, because, you know, a lot of weird things happen and you just blow it off like, it must have been a cougar or a bear. I had this thing one night. I had this cat. He was trying to get the front door open. He wanted in the house. You know, several different times. Middle of the night, cat wanted in. Well, I go let him in. Well, one night I heard this noise, woke me up, and I thought, well, that stinking cat wants in the house. So I go open the door, and this thing's got my garbage can tipped over on the ground and got the lid off. And I tie the lid with twine when the can's full. And this thing untied the knot. It's a brand new trash can, plastic, without a scratch on it. This thing never put a scratch or tooth mark on it at all, anywhere. When I had this thing run off, that trash can was still perfect. As an animal, it had been chewed on.
Yeah.
But this thing, it was, I don't know, as big as 2 or 3 trash cans set side by side. You know, that's big. And I could not see a head. I couldn't see no arms or legs, just a big ball of hair as hunched over that trash can. And the hair was really strange. It was like fishing line. You could see right through it, like monofilament fishing line when I shined a light on it, but it was black at the same time. It was really weird and shiny and about 6 inches long hair. It was just like a fake wig, you know, too perfect and too clean. And the hair was straight and like, what am I looking at? And when it heard me open the door, that thing jumped like 30, 35 feet, just like a bullfrog does. It didn't run away. It jumped. And it jumped out of my light, and it hit the ground, and it jumped once or more. It went over a high bank and landed on some roofing tin I had, and it was gone in a heartbeat. And that wasn't no bear. A bear would have looked at me and then walked off or run off, and I knew for sure what it was. But this thing it launched, and it never put a scratch on that trash can. So I think maybe it was one of them going through my trash, you know, one of them Sasquatches.
You also, I was trying to go through my notes. I was writing down things the other day so fast. You said you grew up near where the Patty film was made.
Well, I did. I spent a few years over there on the coast, not too far from where, you know, Bluff Creek.
And your dad saw Bigfoot there, right?
Well, I think he did. Well, he took us to the theater in '67, and we saw the Patty film when it first come out during intermission. And, you know, I never thought nothing of it. But then later on, he went and bought a brand new deer rifle. He says, this deer rifle ain't big enough. I seen a bear that was just really big. He says, I got to have a bigger gun. Now, I kind of doubt that was a bear myself. I've never heard of anybody saying they got to get a bigger deer rifle to kill a bear. Any deer rifle will kill a bear.
Yeah.
unless you're talking grizzly bear, and this was no grizzly bear. But I kind of think he's seen one too, and I know for a fact he's seen UFOs. We never talked about it, but he had all kinds of tapes when he died of stuff he taped off of TV about UFOs. So I know he's seen some weird stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But he died before I ever talked to him about it. He run off chasing women when I was 10, and I never seen him hardly ever again till he got sick and died. But I know there's some weird stuff he's seen too.
Did your dad still that he saw some other things?
Well, I think he did. He never did tell me he did, but I think he did just from what he said.
Yeah.
And I hope to meet him again someday and ask him. But one night I was sleeping here and something came running by, but I got a motorhome parked about beside my cabin here, and you could reach out and touch them both if you're standing between them. Well, something ran in between there one night, and I'm a light sleeper, and this thing was, I don't know, it had to be 60, 80 feet away when it woke me up, because I could hear it stomping. It was just kind of jogging, and it was like boom, 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 run right between my house and my motorhome, and it just kept right on going, and it was like sounded like a 20-foot tall giant running through there. That's not normal. That wasn't no bear.
No, you could take a huge person even doing that, and it wouldn't. Even a horse. A horse.
Even if it was
that's not the same kind of a sound.
Or a bull or moose or anything, you know.
Yeah, it's not going to like vibrate the ground usually.
Well, you're not going to hear it stomping that loud. There might be a little bit of a thud, but it's going to be 4 feet, not 2.
Yeah.
Well, another night, something slapped my cabin so hard it sounded like a tree about 70, 80 foot fell on the roof. It shook the whole place. Now, that wasn't no bear.
Have you ever thought about putting cameras out?
Nah. I don't think you could get a picture of one. I think they know what cameras are. Anything you put out there is different than what it was yesterday. They're going to notice it.
Yeah.
In most cases. I have heard of people getting pictures of them using mirrors. You know, putting a mirror up and then having the camera aiming at the mirror and the mirror looking out the window.
Yeah.
And then the camera ain't pointing out the window. But they're smarter. They're smart.
Yeah. So after you said that, I heard somebody else talking about that a long time ago, and I forgot it. To use the mirrors where they wouldn't realize the camera was looking at them, but they have to be something far more than a primate, because and I know primates are smart, but not to the point where they recognize if they're wild in the woods that something is a camera.
Well, you know, people talk about them using ESP and getting mind speak, you know, from these guys. Yeah. They put their thoughts into your head, talk to you and like that. Or even images. They could even show you images. A guy down in Arizona, I know, he said they showed him an image of the pioneers coming across, you know, back in the 1800s.
Wow.
So they must either be some really old ones that share that information, or they pass it down and keep it. But I've experienced something like that myself. Because I was not last summer, but the summer before, I was sleeping. I was having this dream, and all of a sudden, this other thing cut in, just like a vision. And I'm sitting in my easy chair, looking out the window here in my vision, and these 2 Bigfoots went by the window, and it was a big black one, like 9, 10 foot tall, and he's a big husky boy, jet black. And then behind him, about 2, 3 steps, was this brown one, kind of like cocoa color, you know. And giggling. It was, I don't know if it was his son or daughter or wife or girlfriend or what, but it was a small one, about, I don't know, 6 foot tall, and not real husky or nothing, but it was just cracking up and following him along. And then right before they walked out of sight, that big one looked down at me and gave me this kind of a neutral look, like, you seen me. And then that was it. Gone, and I was dreaming my dream again. That's the only time that's ever happened in my whole life.
Well, I know Donna told you a little bit a while ago. We've had some weird stuff happen like that too, and it sounds crazy when you hear it, but after you experience it, it does. I mean, it's
It ain't crazy no more.
no, it's not crazy anymore, and it's a little scary just that something can get inside your head like that. Your friend Steve, and you were talking about the other day. I wrote down had a sighting in Idaho. Was that in Idaho? Oh, wait a minute. He got kicked out, guys.
Yeah, I touched the phone and it cut you off.
That's all right. I thought it might have been on my end.
I get to waving my hands around when I'm talking, and I touched it.
Did you hear what I said?
No.
Your friend Steve had that sighting in Idaho.
Oh yeah, he's had the mind speak where they was actually talking to him. But he seen one back in New York when he was like 16, and he's pushing 80. And they've been coming around him his whole life, off and on. And now where he's at, there's a bunch of them lives over there, right there where he is. There's a house across the river. He said somebody bought a piece of land up on this mountainside and built a great big fancy house. And wasn't very long, they moved out of there and sold it to somebody else. And then they sold it to somebody else. And then they sold it. Nobody can live in that house.
Are there a lot of houses around it?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, the BLM land is just beyond there, and some steep mountains with caves. Mm-hmm. Well, Steve's had this one female come around and mind speak with him at night and talk to him. I can't remember what all he said they've talked about, but she tried to get him to come outside and meet her one night. And he said he couldn't do it. He's too scared. And she got mad and never come back, I guess. Or either that. I told him, he's feeling really bad. He still feels bad because he thinks he run her off. I told him, Steve, she might have had a boyfriend or a husband that told her, stop talking to them humans. And after I told him that, he feels better now because he felt terrible. He insulted her. Mm-hmm. But she told him they live up on a cave over there by where that big fancy house is built up on the mountain. And I think they've been running them people out of there one after another.
It sounds like
too close to their cave. If
you're putting that much money into your house, most people don't. I mean, some people do, but most people don't move often, and then the next person comes and they move. It's just not normal.
No, not unless there's a divorce or something, But it's not one after another after another.
No, that's what I was saying. If it keeps happening, something's going on somewhere. We can't say sure what it is, but if somebody's telling their story, listen to them because you don't want to make fun of people or make light of something like this that's happening to people. I mean, it could be you the next time that you're needing somebody to talk to, and nobody's there for you. But so be a little understanding. Yeah. Give them an ear to talk.
Well, I don't care how crazy somebody's story is. And if I think it sounds like they're lying or whatever, I still keep that in my mind to in case something comes along that proves it's true, live my life. I don't just reject everything everybody says because it don't fit into nothing I know.
Well, if you've had things happen to you, it makes it easier, I know, than some people that have never had anything happen. It's a little harder for them, but it could be you next. You never know. So, be sympathetic with people at least.
Okay, another deal that happened was there's some mountains between me and the next county, and I was working for a logging outfit over there, and I had to go over the mountains way before daylight to get to Crummy to go to work. And I don't know, it's like 4:30 in the morning. I'm going over the mountains, and I go around this sharp corner, and here's these big orange eyeballs, like the size of tennis balls, down by the pavement. And they're like 6-8 inches apart. I'm like, what am I seeing? Headlights are shining right on it, but all I could see was eyeballs. Everything else never reflected no light. All I could see is them eyeballs. And then I was going around the corner, and the headlights got off of it, and them eyeballs was still lit up, orange. And it took off running to the left, and I could see the eyeballs turn and look a different direction, and it's still orange running away. I could still see that orange. So them eyeballs was glowing. And that wasn't no bear, no deer, no elk or nothing. That was some kind of creature that had lit up eyeballs.
Could you possibly tell about how wide they were apart as a guesstimate or
It,
something?
it looked like 6 or 8 inches, at least the width of my hand. You know, when you spread your hand out,
Yes, sir.
they're pretty far apart. I'm like, I couldn't figure out. And it was down over the embankment where the only thing sticking up was its head. You know, it was down over the edge.
Okay.
And its head was peeking up over the road. And
You can about tell if it's like a possum or a coon or something like that when with just seeing the eyes off the side. You're
well,
going to know.
the spacing is going to rule out anything.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I was talking to a guy. I was looking to buy a log skidder, and he lived down on the coast of Oregon. And he said, I asked him if he's seen, he'd been logging his whole life and was selling off all his stuff. And I asked him, you ever seen any Bigfoots or, Sasquatch in the woods? He says, yeah. He says, we was out coon hunting one night and we seen this big old thing behind the bush. And all we could see was its head, and it was red glowing eyes. And the head was big as a 5-gallon bucket. That's all he seen.
Mm-hmm.
But that wasn't no bear.
No. My husband's a coon hunter. He started coon hunting by himself when he was like 12 years old. And I worried about, after I started studying this, because it's been about 20 years now, I guess. After I started studying this, and I told him, I said, if you ever see anything, I kept telling him, and I know he got tired of it. I said, do not shoot at it. Get the dogs and get out of there. And he's got a friend that's a little gun happy about shooting. And I said, you better tell him he better not shoot it, or you all won't come out of there. And that's what I told him.
Yeah, well, I heard the story of a guy that hired an Indian guide to go elk hunting down there where Arizona and Colorado come together, and New Mexico. And he's in southwest Colorado, and this hunter and this Indian, they seen a Sasquatch up on the hillside. And the hunter pulled his gun up there, was going to shoot it. The Indian told him, don't do that. Boom. He killed it. Well, another one come running down the mountain, just mad as a wet hen. And the Indian run off. He's like, I told you not to do that. He just left that hunter standing there. And then he went and got the sheriff and come back, and I guess that guy's gun was tied in a knot, and that guy didn't have any arms or legs or a head when they found him. And the sheriff says, oh, it had to be a bear.
Yeah.
He wasn't chewed up. He was just pulled apart.
Yeah. Yeah. We've heard that before happen too.
God, I couldn't imagine that.
No.
I think I'd pass out if I had to see something like that.
Just watching it would be, and just imagine it being you that gets ripped apart. I mean,
you go into shock.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be crazy.
I mean, I'm a hunter, but you can't just be gun happy to shoot at everything that moves.
No, well, there's people. A woman was killed here in Washington several years ago because a couple teenage boys was out deer hunting, and she had some kind of a pack on her back, and she was hunched over tying her shoe, and they just shot her and killed her. Thought she was a deer.
Mm.
That when I lived down in California, the ranchers used to get blaze orange paint and write cow right on the side of their cows because the city people would come out and shoot their cows. Well, looky here, I got a deer. Crazy what people with guns will do.
Yeah.
And the bad part is the first rule of gun safety is know what you're shooting at.
Yeah, you don't pull that trigger until you know for sure.
Exactly.
We don't have a lot of that around here or anything, but I can imagine like in bigger areas where people just decide they want to start hunting all of a sudden, without maybe having experience of a experienced hunter with them. And
well, when you got a big city not too far away and a lot of mountains to hunt in, all them city people are coming up in your mountains.
Yeah.
A lot of them don't have no experience. Well,
you'd think they'd have a little bit of common sense if they're going to carry a gun, though, wouldn't you?
That ain't no guarantee.
No, it's not.
You got to watch. I tell my kids all the time, watch out for people. Don't trust nobody. Every car on the road's a missile that can kill you. Do not think you're safe ever. Well, I live on a dirt road at the end of the dirt road, and I live up on a ridge, and I can see out over a lot of country. And I end up turning in wildfires, every year because I see them before anybody. But there's a doctor bought this cabin on this ridge a little ways down, him and his wife, and they did some improvements and all. They were going to have, just for a summer place to visit and get away from town. And they sold the place, and they said, oh, yeah, his mom's we got to fix up a mother-in-law apartment at our house because she's sick. Well, that husband, the doctor, he's seen a Sasquatch on the property. The wife told me he's seen one. When I talked to her about Sasquatches, and she said, oh, yeah, he's seen one over here. I'm sure that's why they moved out of there. They might have been getting their cabin slapped, too. Might have been the same one slapped my cabin.
Yeah.
And then down on the flat below this ridge, there's these people. I was talking to the guy died, and the wife's still there, and she's got 2 grown boys. Well, when them boys was younger, I got to talking to her about Sasquatches, and she said her boys seen 2 of them walking down there together, walking down a skid trail. Why would you just tell somebody my kid's seen a Sasquatch? Unless they did.
Yeah, that's true. And you're, I don't think you realize, tell them exactly where you're located, not at a town, but you know what I'm saying? Like, you're like, how close to Canada?
Oh, it's about an hour from Canada, 15 minutes from Idaho.
Is that mostly the general area that you worked also?
Well, yeah, I've done a lot of jobs in Idaho, and mostly in Idaho because it costs more to have a logging company in Washington than it does in Idaho. So a lot of your loggers are based nearby in Idaho. So a lot of people, you want to get a job, you got to work for them.
Right.
But the only thing I seen in Idaho was that one job where all them trees. Well, no, the one I told you about where I was working in the dark. And they seen this Bigfoot's down there at the bottom of the hill where they're hooking the logs. That was in Idaho. And then just down the road, 10 minutes away, there's another job I did where it had all these trees bent over the trail that I had to cut before I could do any falling. Well, on that was the boss's land. And there's a cabin on that, an old cabin on that property. And that was another one of them deals. I never really gave it any thought, but we went in that cabin and it stunk. And he says, oh, yeah, there's a bear been staying in here. I don't think that was a bear. I think that was whoever was bending over all them trees. And I've never seen a job in my whole life, all them bent over trees like that.
I've seen some of watching shows on TV, but a lot of those were not, they just weren't bent over. They were turned upside down. How big were the trees that were bent over? Were they like arm, circumference or?
Big one as your leg where they go in the ground, maybe,
That's still pretty big bent over,
60 foot tall.
That's a pretty strong tree right there.
Yeah. Well, they're tamarack trees. They're pretty limber. When they get a lot of snow on them, they'll bend clear over and touch the ground with the top, and then when the snow goes off, they stand right back up again. And it was all tamarack trees that was done that to. The other ones would snap if you tried that. Bend them that far.
Yeah. You started. We were talking about. I think it was it Rainbow Springs in Shasta County, California? Was that where you saw the triangular spaceship? No,
that was over towards Reno in the Sierra Nevada mountains. Okay, we were logging down there towards Truckee, and we're staying out of town in a trailer park in this old trailer, and me and the cat skinner, we're bored to death. So there's this hill in town up above town. You could look down on the town on one side and look down on the sawmill on the other side. And we just went up there and parked and was just drinking beer and just killing time, listening to music. And I got out to take a leak, and there's this thing went over the top of us, blacked out the sky. I don't know why. I just felt really funny all of a sudden, like a magnetic. My hair was standing up, Mm-hmm. And I got this funny feeling. I looked up and this triangle went over the top of us, and it seemed like, there's nothing in the sky you could compare it to, So you're just guessing at the size because it's all black. I mean, couldn't see nothing but black. And in each corner of this thing was a globe of light that, I don't know, them things looked like they're 20 foot across. And they weren't real bright. It was kind of dim and it was silent. And it went over us about the same speed as you'd be walking, maybe even slower. And I'll tell you, my hair was standing up for more than one reason. I told the guy with me, I said, Bill, get out here and look at this. He jumped out there and looked at it. Well, not last summer, but summer before I was talking to him. And he says, what are you talking about? That never happened. And like, how could you forget something like that? That's crazy. I kind of wonder, what happened to his memory.
You had no loss of time? Did you have loss of time or anything?
Not that I know of. But the thing is after we saw that thing, we never spoke of it to each other for 30 years. Not once. Never spoke of it again. Now, why do people do that? They run into something crazy like that, a Bigfoot or a UFO, and they don't even be friends anymore. They get a divorce. They quit being. You hear about that all the time.
Yeah.
People split up because of these things, and they don't even know why.
Well, most of the time, I think it's the spouse just can't handle the pressure of that comes along with it, and then going through it yourself, it changes you, and it just puts a wedge between there. I think.
Yeah, I don't know.
I've had a lot of weird things happen, and Jim's still here.
I don't know. The stinking rabbit hole, it just seems to me like it's pretty big. The weird things just keep getting weirder and weirder. And so I kind of have an opinion. You can have a weird idea about something that, you can't figure out. And it could be as weird as you can dream up. And it might be right. Because I don't think there's any end to how weird things can get.
When you heard the one that you were talking about earlier about yelling and stuff, did you feel anything or
Well, that's one thing that a lot of people say, they feel like it in their chest. It's just going right through them, or like wood knocks or whoops. I ain't heard none of that. All I've ever heard is the screams in that camp where I was staying, and then here at home. Was it summer before last? I went outside like 8 o'clock at night, and I heard these weird voices in the woods. It wasn't speaking English. They wasn't speaking nothing I ever heard. It kind of sounded like a little bit of Russian, maybe. Or so it sounded like a couple guys with deep voices talking. And I just like right on my property line in the woods. It's all woods up here. And I went back in the house and got my flashlight, and I went sneaking out there to see if I could find who it was. And it's dead silent. I never did see nothing. I got out there and I'm thinking, I didn't bring a gun. I better get home. Even if it was people, I might get myself in trouble out there, run into somebody doing something they shouldn't. But they wasn't speaking no English. And them things are around here. People have seen them. And I'm sure that thing was in my garbage was one of them. And whatever slapped my house was one of them. Whatever run through between my house and my motorhome was one of them. And one time I've heard some owls that was really loud, hooting and hollering up the hill from me. And I hear people talk about, they hear that all the time when they hear Sasquatches, maybe that was them too.
Did it sound really like owls, or were the sounds a little bit off or something? Did you notice?
Well, it didn't sound like it was anything but owls, but it was way up the mountain how could you hear it from that far?
That's true too.
Most
of the time they don't actually sound like owls. It's broken and I don't explain it to you or not, but it's like us trying to make an owl sound,
Right.
You hear that difference.
Yeah, I've heard that many times. It just sounds like somebody faking an owl.
We talked about, yeah. And some who is it tells about it. I was listening to that again the other day, and when they heard it, it coughed right in the middle. Who was that? I should know this, and I can't. But I've heard a couple people say that, like, they hear the sounds, and we've heard them too, and it's different. That they can't. Well, I'm not going to get into our story. It's not my show, but we talked the other night about like military. Your mom and dad were both in the military, was that right?
Yeah.
But
we never did live on no military base or nothing. Did I? That was before I was born.
Oh, okay. That's become kind of a. If anybody in the chat has a lot of experiences, and maybe you were in the your parents were in the military while you were born while they were in the military, would you send us an email, please? I have a reason for that. I want to ask some questions and get kind of narrow down some things I've got questions about. If you were if your parents were in the military and you were, as a child born there or just lived on the base and stuff, whatever, just shoot us an email. Okay.
Got the email up.
Huh?
I've got the email address up.
Oh yeah, she's got the email up. Yeah, we're still getting used to this. There's a lot to do and try to concentrate on the show too. Do you get used to it? Donna didn't come to help. I couldn't do it by myself. I just couldn't do it because I just sit here and listen, not even notice anything else. I know me.
Teamwork, sister.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, we know it's a lot of work, and we appreciate what you're doing.
Well, it's not the work; it's something you enjoy, but it's just there's a lot to keep up, and I
well,
know
it's a lot going on, but you got to learn all that.
But trying to watch the chat and and pay attention to your guests, that's what's the hard part. Without missing something on one side or the other.
Well, it's the same way on my side too, because I can't remember everything just off the top of my head.
Once you get started talking, though, it sort of comes back, doesn't it?
Well, the thing is some of it if I don't write it down, I can't think of it. So many weird things have happened. Like, was it Friday before last? I went outside and there's this elk jaw, and it's looks like the elk died 10 years ago, and it's split right in two, so it's two halves. And I found it out here by my pickup, both halves. Laying, the tip of the jaw was facing one way on the one half, and the tip of the jaw was facing the other way on the other half, and then the teeth was faced toward each other like a circle. Now, how'd that get here?
With it being old, with it being old, the two pieces should have never been together to start with.
Well, if no animal been chewing on it except maybe a chipmunk chewed on one little corner of the jawbone, but there's no big dog, no dogs was chewing on it. No bear or animal carried it here and dropped it. And if they did, they wouldn't have brought two pieces there. And you could tell it had been broken in half for a long time. So that's really strange. They're laid out kind of in like a circle with the teeth pointing at each other and pointing opposite directions. It's like, that's really funny looking.
You sent that picture during the show, didn't you?
Yeah, I sent you the picture. That's pretty strange. And then I went out there and put an apple right in the middle of it to see if they'd come back and take it, and I'm like, next thing you know, one of my dogs dragged one of them jawbones off. But the apple's still sitting out there. But I kind of got a feeling that Sasquatch has been coming around here. That was his calling card. He just like saying, hey, we're back. Been gone all winter, we're back.
Did you ever see any footprints or anything?
Well, this ground up here is like decomposed granite. It's like a cross between sand and fine gravel, and it's hard. And there's pine needles on it. It unless it's right after the snow goes out, it don't get muddy or soft at all. And I've never seen nothing but. I did take my skidder up the hill and punch a new road in this winter. And so that's all loose, soft dirt. I just backbladed it here a week ago. I'm going to hike up there and see if there's any tracks that came down it.
Okay. I was wondering, like maybe after a rain or something like that, or like you said, snow or something, if you might have saw something.
Right. Well, I haven't looked yet, but I'm going to go up there and look. I was thinking about taking a jar of peanut butter and just put some twine around it and hanging on the fence at the top of the property up there. This is all steep hillside. Because I'm sure whatever it was probably come from up above, because up there ain't nothing on top of this ridge. There ain't nobody got nothing. There ain't no road. There ain't no house. There ain't no nothing. And that's where everything, all the game and everything tends to go. Oh,
Yeah.
another one. There's another little place down below that cabin I told you where the doctor seen the Bigfoot and they moved out. Well, there's property right down below. It's steep as a cow's face. But this kid bought this property last year and built a little cabin in there. It's kind of a little nook in the side of the hill. Well, that used to have a driveway in there like 30, 40 years ago, and nobody ever built nothing in there. It's just a piece of land for sale, and I don't know why nobody ever built nothing in there, but they had a sign there that says keep out. When I bought my place here like 20 years ago, that was the driveway open there. Well, that driveway got trees snapped off about 10 foot tall that was like 3-4 inches in diameter at 10 foot. And it's like something reached up and grabbed one on each side of the trail and broke them and made an X and closed the trail off. And then I got to watching these Sasquatch shows, and I hear about all these broken off. They break the tree and twist it at the same time, and when it's pointing somewhere, it's supposed to mean something in that direction or whatever. Well, these made an X that closed the road. I got thinking, well, you know what? Right in there's where that doctor seen one, and that they just didn't want anybody coming in there.
That's what it sounds like.
That's just little stuff like that. I got all kinds of little stuff like that. I just don't remember, Or it dawned on me what it was, and I just forgot it. I got to write this stuff down. I better write that down because I keep more stuff,
I understand. I have books full, and I have to go back and look in the books to find what was when something happened, or because there's so much of it.
Before we get more into the show, we just wanted to apologize to everybody for not getting the thumbnail out there. Sherry thought that she had it public, but it was private. So that's why we don't have too many in chat, but we appreciate y'all being here tonight.
Yeah, I usually have to go back or you do and change it to public, and I just been busy and I forgot it. I'm sorry, it's my fault.
But like
Well,
I said,
this in this here county, you don't see much. They had people make them big plywood cutouts of Sasquatch and put in the yard. Well, in the next county over, there's a lot of that. They even paint them on the side of their barns. Businesses got them painted on the side of the store. There's a chip truck outfit that's got a bunch. They're called Bigfoot trucking. There's a ton of Bigfoot everything in the next county. I mean, a ton of it. But in this county, half the cars on the road got a Bigfoot sticker on them.
Yeah.
It's getting to be more and more. You see that symbol, the Sasquatch shape on stuff more every year, more and more.
Maybe
And
people are sightings or just getting interested in it.
I sent you that deal about that missionary back in the 1800s that was preaching to the Spokane Indians. Remember that?
Yes.
And he said them Indians told him about the hairy giants that come and steal their kids and women, steal their fish out of the nets, and they're whistling at night, and all the stuff you hear about now, that was back in the 1800s. And this missionary wrote back east and told his kinfolk or friends all about it. And you can look that letter up online. It's there.
Well, you sent me the picture of that. It looks like a carving or a mold type picture.
Well, yeah, I think that's a wood carving from a church over in England.
And
Something real old. I don't remember where I even got that.
I meant to say I looked it up online too, and I should have put it on here. And like the Sistine Chapel, I mean, the fact that there's, I don't know what else it can be. The thing that everybody sees as the Bigfoot on there, because it looks just like one, and it's in a cave, and the crucifixion with Christ on it is out here, and the cave's back here, and there's some other stuff in there that's looking out too. Why world would anybody paint something like that? You know, and it's in the church, and I mean, most of the churches would have said no, don't do that.
Yeah.
But it was allowed to be in there. Now, why would they let that stay if it's not true?
Well, somebody wanted it in there, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, you know, they talk. You hear stories about these kind of critters all the time. Like, was it last year? I heard that the India Army. I think they were in Nepal, and they were walking up through the snow, and they found footprints that was 3 feet long, from the heel to the toe. Oh, another thing I forgot to tell you, and I haven't wrote it down, is last summer in this county, we had a wildfire, and up here at the powwow grounds, they had a fire camp where all the firemen was camping, and they were, headquarters. And I went up there to see if I could get my skidder on the fire. Well, the federal wildlife agent that was there at the gate, he had 2 guys from Afghanistan helping do security. Well, he went to talk to the boss because they wouldn't let me in without having any paperwork. Well, I got to talking to these 2 guys from Afghanistan. I said, "You guys got a Bigfoot in Afghanistan?" And they didn't know what I was talking about. I said, "A giant hairy man." And they go, oh, Barmanu. Like, what? Barmanu, the hairy giant that steals women. We hate him. We kill him. And I says, "Well, we got them here. These hills, they're in these hills too. You should have seen how big those guys' eyeballs got when I told them that." That was just last summer.
There's a lot of stories of military encounter, and a lot of people think it's not true, but I don't see. I'm sure it is.
It's like every year something new comes along that's evidence for me.
Yeah.
Now you're in that area too. Is there a lot of paranormal other than just Bigfoot that happens there?
Not that I can recall. No. Of course, that's even worse. That's worse than Bigfoot. People talk about that. They think they're crazy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You don't talk about stuff that makes you crazy because everybody thinks that nobody's going to like them or they're going to fire you or whatever, Well, I'm old enough now. I'm retired. I don't care what they think.
But that's why a lot of people won't come out and tell their stories about Bigfoot, let alone
anything. Till they retire.
Yeah. Because they're scared of being ridiculed or, like you said, losing their job or friends, family.
Well, family and friends is a big, that happens a lot, I think.
Right. And the pressure, too, just like we were talking about, your family will, ours won't, but a lot of people's family will make fun of you, so to the point that you don't even want to go to gatherings. I've known people.
From what you've heard, a lot of folks, once they see one of these and they realize they're real, you can't stop thinking about it. You're always wondering what's going on, and you just can't let it go. And then nobody wants to be around you when you're like that.
Yeah, I know Jim thinks I'm crazy sometimes because he like I said, he started hunting when he was 12 years old by himself at dark in the night, and most kids that age won't go into the woods by themselves at night, and he's never seen anything, and I understand it's hard for him. It doesn't bother me. It's not that he doesn't believe us, it's just he said I've never seen anything. And
I worked in the woods from 1977 until like 2017, and I never seen nothing that I could say was one of them. Heck, I only seen 3 cougars in my life, and then was just crossing the roads. I never seen a cougar or a bear on a logging job, and I know they exist, but I ain't never seen one on a logging job. I talked to an Indian that was running a feller buncher up in Canada and British Columbia, and he said he was working night shift. When you're cutting, some companies, I've cut timber at night with a feller buncher. And they'll have you working all night, and then the day crew comes along and you go home. Well, he's out there cutting and he broke down. I don't know if he probably blew a hose is probably what happened. That's generally what happens. You blow a hose and then you just got to wait till the crummy comes back in the morning and go get a hose and fix it when you you can, but he broke down and spent the night in his machine because he couldn't run it. And it's way up the mountain. So he didn't walk back to the pickup. He just slept in his machine. Well, in the middle of the night, something jumped up on because these processors are built like a big excavator with a little machine hanging on the end of the arm that cuts it's like a saw. It grabs a tree and saws it off. Well, he's sleeping in there, and something jumped on the back of that thing on the motor behind the cab, and he heard a big boom, and he turned the lights on, and he's looking right in the face of one of them things. He was scared to death the rest of the night. He didn't get no sleep.
I'm sure.
But he said that's pretty close.
Yeah.
Just a window between you and it.
Yeah. Well, I told you about, and I don't want to bring it up because but I told you about what I saw in the camper the night that the weird stuff happened to me and Dawn and Billy about peeking in the windows.
Yeah, that'd give me a heart attack. Have one looking right in the window.
Well, the scary part was just I couldn't move. I could not move anything. I finally got, just got one thing to move, and then I was able to move. But
I actually thought she was having a stroke. She was trying to talk and trying to move and couldn't do either because she wasn't making sense to me.
Lots of people say they are frozen. Then them things won't let them move.
Yeah,
until it walks away.
Right.
Most people think they're just scared too bad, and it's just fear. But I don't think it's just fear. I think they can paralyze you.
Yeah, because I personally, I've had awful dreams all my life. Stuff that would just as bad as any horror movie on TV you've ever seen, and I'm used to it. So and that doesn't bother me. It's just a dream, but this was not. So.
Yes. See, there's a couple of things popped into my head that I didn't have wrote down just while we was talking.
Well, go ahead.
Well, I wrote them down now. I told you about it.
Oh. I've got another note down here, and I don't remember. I can't read my notes. Is Kawani?
Oh, yeah, Kawani lapsaritis. He just lives over the mountain over there. The mountain I was telling you where I seen them orange eyes going to work. He lives on the other side of the mountain, and he's wrote all kinds of books about them. And he says there's a group of them up on that mountain that he knows them. And he goes up there and visits them. And he says there's 13 of them live up there. And there's a ski resort up there. And they got a Sasquatch statue at the ski resort. And they say a lot of people see Sasquatches around where there's a lot of quartz. And that mountain is just plumb full of quartz.
Yeah, and I don't. There may be somebody in chat. Bama's in here. He's been doing this a long time, and I don't know if anybody actually knows why they're attracted. Or what they think the reason is they're attracted to it. But
Gary's in here too.
Yeah, Gary. If anybody has any idea why they're attracted to that, would you put something in the comments for us, or what you think? Why you think they're attracted to it?
I think it's got something to do with energy.
Yeah, that's my guess too. But
they see them around power plants and power line right-of-ways. There's a great big high-tension power line not too far from here would give them big old towers. I think they draw power off of that. I think if they want to turn invisible or go open a portal or do any kind of weird stuff that regular flesh and blood creatures can't do, they got to power up.
That's a possibility. I hadn't thought about that. Like they're going invisible and disappearing and other things.
Have you heard of people being hurt by being too close to them by radiation?
I don't think so.
I've heard of that. If people touch a Bigfoot or orb, that they can get some kind of energy sickness, radiation sickness like.
Well, we've heard of people that if they're close by, they get nauseated or they get disoriented. They could be in their own backyard and not know where they're at. Right, yeah. Exactly.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think they get into your head.
Oh, yeah, they do.
I know they got into my head with that dream. And my buddy, he's had them talk to him in his head. He's seen him walking down his driveway. He lost a brand new bowstring for his bow, still in the wrapper. And 30 years later, it turned up. He goes down to the river and sits on this log and prays down there. And it was sitting right there on that log for him. 30 years later, and it was laying right there. He thinks they had it in the cave. Still in the wrapper, nothing wrong with it. 30 years later, found it outside, sitting on that log right where he prays.
That's possible, Pyro. Did you see? Can you see the comments?
Me?
Yeah.
I ain't seeing nothing.
Okay, Pyro. He's a friend of ours. He was on the show last week, and he said maybe they need a spark to start off an orb, because another friend that was on the show last week, Brenda, she said there's always an orb somewhere around if there's a Bigfoot around.
Yeah, well, I've heard of people say that they've seen Bigfoot faces in the orb.
Yeah, well, you could see them. The pictures that one of the pictures Brenda sent, when you look at it,
No, it's Pyro's pictures on the
orbs?
ground of the
Okay.
orbs, yes.
Sorry, Pyro. You could see the faces in those pictures.
Well, I seen an orb when I lived across the river 20 years ago. I walked outside at like 3 a.m. and this orange orb was up in the sky. And if you hold a quarter at arm's length, that's about how big it looked. Well, inside of that was another orange orb. And inside of that, it looked like an electric light bulb filament glowing in there. And it wasn't even moving. And I said, "What are you looking at?" And it took off like a fireworks going up into the sky. That was somebody that was listening. Then whatever that was intelligent, I think.
I know Sherry saw a big orb one night at my house.
Yeah, but I got no bad feelings from that one. It looked like a huge, real brilliant blue marble, and I knew as soon as I took my eyes off that, it's going to disappear, and I couldn't get Donna. I didn't want to yell at her, and as soon as I turned and said, "Donna," it was gone. But
How high off the ground?
It was about 2.5 feet off the ground.
How big was it?
It was about the size. It wasn't as big as a basketball. About like that, and but it was beautiful, and it was sitting just right on top of the sage grass, and Donna was
moving.
Sorry,
it wasn't moving.
It wasn't moving, and as soon as I turned my head, I finally, I couldn't get her attention because she was you were probably about 50 foot from me, weren't you?
Yeah.
And when I turned my head, trying to get her attention, it was just gone.
Oh yeah, that's another thing right there that makes me think the Sasquatches are supernatural, or they have supernatural powers, because that same thing happens with them. They can be standing right there looking at you, and you look away and they're gone, and there's nowhere for them to have to went. They couldn't have got away that fast.
Not as
They
big
just
as they are.
disappear. Well, they couldn't run that fast. I mean, people say they're 10 feet away and there's nothing to hide behind. They look away and they're gone.
I think they go translucent. I think they're.
Yeah. Well, did I tell you about Steve's? I didn't tell you. Steve over here in Idaho, he called me one night, like midnight or something. He says, because he hadn't had, after that one got mad at him and left when he wouldn't go outside and visit with it. He didn't hear from him for quite a while. He was feeling really bad. He thought he insulted them and hurt their feelings. Well, he called me at middle of the night, says, "They're back. I know they're outside. I can feel them. They're here, man." I told him, "Well, just get your camera and go out there and just take pictures every direction." He went back in the house and he goes, "There was nothing out there. I didn't see nothing." And he looked in his camera and he could see this hair-looking stuff that was right on his porch, and he was standing right beside it. And it looked like a big old Bigfoot leaned over, ducking so it could fit inside his porch. And it looked like you could see right through the hair, but all you could see was reflection on the edge of the hair of light a little bit. And you could see a gob of hair, but you couldn't see it, the hair itself. You could see the light around it. I got a bunch of pictures of that. It's really weird. It looks like sparks or something almost, kind of. He thinks it was energy, but everybody I've showed it to, they agree it looks like hair.
Well, if you want to send them to me, I won't share them unless you tell me to. But and if you do want us to, we'll stick them on the show.
I can't do that right now. I'll screw up the show.
Oh, no. I mean after the show,
Oh yeah, I can do that.
and we'll put them up there that they're your pictures.
Yeah, definitely. There's something there, and he said there was no wind, no weather, perfectly quiet. He saw nothing, and it was right in his face when he took the pictures, standing on the porch with him.
I'm sorry. I just got an idea from Pyro. I want to follow up with you, or we do, after the show, maybe a week or so, and see if anything goes on after you've done the show. That's probably another follow-up thing that we need to add to our list, because to see, once you get out here getting to talking about it and everything, if things that get a little more intense, or, more, happen more.
Absolutely.
Did you tell him what Pyro said? Because he's not watching.
No,
He's not able to watch the show.
What was he? Pull up, you got it something. It's he said the next night after he did the show, he saw shadow beings clearer than he's ever seen them before, and he had to pray up and hadn't seen them since.
Yeah. Well, I worry about, them coming around, because I don't know whose side they're on and what they're up to. Other people say, well, you ought to be friends with them. And like, I don't know if I want to be friends with them. I don't know if they're all bad, if some of them are good, or I don't know nothing.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of like with gifting. I'm not so sure about that. It kind of worries. Could be a good thing or it could be a bad thing. But I mean, everybody's got their own choice.
And the thing is what I believe changes from year to year with more evidence,
Right.
And I get a better view of more evidence, and you get a better picture of what really is going on, figure out things better.
We have a couple of good friends that are part of all of our group, and they've lived with these things for, all their lives, and they're full of information. And that's usually what I do. I talk to one of them about anything I'm not sure of what I need to do. Of course, they'd say don't do it, but
Kumbo and Greg.
Well, but the three friends. To make it three friends. Yeah,
confer with.
They get on. They get on us for doing things sometimes, but you got to do what you got to do.
Well, we all got to learn. The thing is what other people know, that's what they know. What I know, that's what I know. Yeah. And the way I see it, your evidence is kind of personal to you. You can share it with other people, and they can do what they want with it. Maybe they can figure something out. Maybe they can't. But still, that ain't no proof for them. You can't pass on proof like that. You got to have something tangible.
Yeah.
Which you pretty much can't do. I mean, you can have some hair and you could cast a footprint, but what are you going to learn from that?
Well, I don't know. You probably haven't seen a lot of our shows or anything, but the whole reason that I got into this and started this group, I've been into it a long time. The reason I started the group was because the women in our family are outdoors women. The men aren't, but the women are.
Well, I'll be darned.
And I have nieces and myself and everybody that's in the wood by herself, and I wanted them to know what to do if they encountered these things. That's what started the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, the thing is they follow you home.
Yeah.
There's a lot of years that stuff went on before I ever had anything happen at home. And I don't think it's probably going to stop till I'm gone. I think they tag you.
Once you're on once they're on your radar, you are on their radar.
Well, and another thing is I think they have like a ESP where they all think together. They can contact each other just mentally. And what one knows, they all know. So if one of them knows about you, they all know about you.
Yeah,
I would agree with that too.
I think they got a mind like supernatural mind, not just a supernatural abilities. I think that they're a spiritual being that manifests a physical body, and I think they can manifest any body they want.
But I tell you what, it's addictive.
I can't prove nothing. I don't know nothing. I'm guessing.
Once you start in this and you just keep wanting answers, and it does become addictive for most people.
Yeah, well, I think they get into your head and it won't let you go. And I think the only way you're going to get them out of there is if the Lord helps you. You know, if you really want them gone. Now, they ain't caused me no trouble at all. You know, other than wrecking that one car, I think that was one of them. But I think almost every one of these things that people see, and every time there's any kind of monkey business, I think it's the juveniles. I don't think the adults are that stupid.
A lot of people do think that because it's just like kid-like, you know.
Well, they know better because if they get too much going on, they're going to get hunted down. They don't really want that. But you can't tell the kids what not to do and have them listen. You know that.
Right.
Some of them are going to do it. But there is no end to the crazy stories you hear about these things. But because of the stories I've heard, I've made sense a lot I've seen and heard. You know, I've kind of got some stuff halfway figured out. I can't prove nothing, but I think I know dang well what's been going on.
You found some answers, and that helped you.
Well, yeah. Yep, and I don't fear them that much. I mean, they could tear me in half. I wouldn't care because I believe in the Lord and what plans He has for me. They don't never end.
Yeah, I think that's why it doesn't bother me so bad about what we do.
Now that's just the time. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, there's only one other thing I could think of right off the top of my head that was weird that happened was down here towards Spokane. I was working on this logging job one winter, and I'm working it. We pretty much took all the good trees off this farmer's land, and he needed the money. And I'm working up the hill up into this corner up to some tall, thick timber that's on the fence line across the fence. And I'm just the last skid up there to go and get. And I got up there and I get the funk, you know, the smell inside. And, you know, the machine's got glass windows and air conditioning and a heater and everything. So what's outside, you ain't going to smell it. Well, something got to stinking like somebody poured ammonia on the floor in that machine. And I'm thinking, you know, them Sasquatches are famous for putting out some weird smells. I'm thinking, I'm getting out of here quick. So I just got out of there fast as I could because there's no way there was anything in that machine that had ammonia in it. And as soon as I left that spot, it was gone.
Well, if you're going to be anywhere that they're located, it's better to be aware.
Well, if you kind of have if you got a whole bunch of clues that tip you off to their being around, then they can't hardly sneak up on you. You know from this and that and other thing that you can tell they're around. And then you can leave or do whatever, you know. Do what you need to do. I don't know, everybody reacts different, and some of us can't react. Some of us just freeze. I think they freeze you. I think they can just lock up your nervous system, just like when they have them demonic possessions and people are in bed and, you know, something evil's going on and they can't move. I think it's just a spirit creature taking over. It's kind of like a little bit of possession. I can't prove nothing, but that's what I'm thinking now, and that could change next year. You know, I hope it does. I hope it turns out they're all good. God's got them here to protect us, you know, but I don't know nothing.
Well, it doesn't say that He created them that I can find. Everything from me leads back to the fallen angels. I mean,
yeah. You hear about it? They terrorizing people just for fun. You know, something good wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
But you know, just like I said, juveniles will do stupid stuff.
Kids are going to be kids.
Yeah.
As those
I don't care. I don't even your dog when they're puppies. You know, they can do stuff that an adult dog would no way do.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just maturity and knowing that, you know, common sense, and they got the same deal. They're people. They're some kind of people. They ain't no monkeys. I bet my life on that. They ain't no monkeys at all.
Well, that's what
I don't know.
say when they see them.
I don't know where they came from or what they're made of or how they do what they do, but I know they're more powerful than people. If they wanted to take and wipe us out, there wouldn't be a person left on this planet.
I guess y'all have noticed it also. I'm seeing a lot of stuff hitting TV about them right now. It's not the traditional stuff like we've been usually had, like like finding Bigfoot and that stuff like that. It's like scientific stuff that
Right.
I'm seeing hit TV sometimes.
Well, the Bible says that everything that's hidden is going to get revealed.
Yeah.
And just us talking on the internet like this, that's part of it. We're revealing things that other people never seen or heard, or they might have seen and heard it and don't know what it was, and now they kind of get a clue. Truth is getting out, and it may not all be accurate, what we're figuring, but we can share what we've seen and heard, and other people can relate to it and go, well, wow, maybe it wasn't as bad as I thought it was, or they're not out to get me because everybody else running into this stuff and didn't kill them.
If one of these shows helps anybody, it's worth it.
Oh, I think if you help one person out of 10 years of doing this, you've done something real good. Because some of these people, I'll guarantee you, they've seen stuff that scared them so bad they didn't even want to be alive. They're coming around all the time. They see them in their window every night or something, or come in their house. Like there's a woman down in Arizona, Brenda Harris is her name. She's in New Mexico. She's a Navajo, and she's helped a lot of people that didn't know how to deal with these Bigfoots.
Yeah, that's who I was talking about a while ago. Brenda was on the show with Pyro and Ken.
She's a wealth of information about, how to deal with this if there's trouble going on,
Yeah, she's helped people, gosh, for 30 years or
Oh,
more.
yeah. Yep. Her and the Navajo Rangers. They helped a gob of people around there. That fire, I don't know, I'm telling you before the show, the furthest I went out of here from the west is New Mexico. I went over there to work on a wildfire 3 or 4 years ago, and I drove, I don't know, 14 hours or something. I got up in the mountains in the high country in New Mexico, and I was way up high in the mountains, and I just couldn't drive no further. And they had every side road in the woods blocked off with a sawhorse that said fire danger, no parking. Well, I just parked in the road. In the middle of the night, I got a CB antenna on top of my truck. Mm-hmm. And you can't reach that standing flat-footed on the ground. You'd have to get up in the back of the truck or open the door and reach up there and touch it. Something kept whacking that antenna. Boing, boing, over and over and over and over. I could not sleep. It scared me. I had to get out of there. I drove the rest of the way on down to Taos with my eyes bugged out. Mm-hmm. Something was messing with me.
Oh, it's different being in a
There's
campground.
a lot of stories down in there. Well, campgrounds don't matter. They're coming right in a campground.
Yeah, but it's different if you're in a campground than it is when you're out in the middle of nowhere for miles and stuff like that. Alone. Yeah. I can see people just, being terrified, being out like that.
Well, just like I took my ex-wife and her daughter over to the coast one time when I was young, and we over there in the redwoods, we didn't have no money. We barely afforded to go over there, but we just wanted to get out of town, went over to the ocean, and we didn't have money for no motel, so we just had some racks on the back of the truck, and we had a mattress in there and threw a tarp over it. Well, something was walking around that truck at night, and I had my rifle in my hands because I was scared. Somebody was out there in the middle of the night in the woods, and that was back, in the 80s. There wasn't so many people around there then, but I drove far enough out of town to find a road. I figured nobody'd be around, But that's just another thing, was like, maybe that was them. Oh, when I was a little boy, when we first moved there, my dad was running in the trailer park, and me and I had a stepbrother for a couple of years. He married one of the women that lived in there. And me and his stepbrother, we went and did work for this one little old lady. She had a great big old house and stuff. We'd stack wood for her stuff, and like she's in her 80s, and we're like 10. And she told us one day, she says, "You boys be careful. There's stuff in them woods you don't want to mess with." And we just like, yeah, we don't see nothing. Stuff like that keeps coming back to me, you know.
Yeah, I can
Like
see that happening.
that might have been what she was talking about.
Well, I mean, you and I are close to the same age, and you never heard anything about that. We didn't. I never even saw the Patterson Gimlin film until I started, researching Bigfoot, and because we had an outside antenna that you went outside and turned, and that's where I saw the UFO when I went to turn that antenna, and we didn't have cable or anything at that time, and we didn't have a clue about it. But now there was a story. There was a story down below where we lived. It was a pretty remote place at one time. This guy that was coming home from work, he was actually like a second uncle to us or something, a great uncle. I don't know. He's related to us, and he was coming home from there from work, and everybody talked about the story. He said something black came out and chased him home
And grabbed
On
his
2 feet.
grabbed his leg.
On 2 feet, it was.
Yes.
And our grandmother
Oh, wow.
always told us not to go in that area, that boogers would get you
Yeah.
at night.
Yeah,
Well,
she said,
lately I've been hearing about things that are just a black form. You can't tell what it is. It's got a humanoid form, but it just absorbs light. There's no features to it. You can't see anything but just like a black chalkboard looking thing. You can't tell it's got a face or anything. It's just a big black thing, like a demon or something. I keep hearing about that lately. It's just a black form. It's not, you can't tell what kind of a creature it is. If it's an animal kind of thing or a human kind of, it's just a black form.
okay, we'll write it down here. We'll do some research on it. But our mama always she just got terrified of the kids were out in the dark. She wanted you in if you were playing it before it got dark, because she said the boogers will get you.
But
Well, the natives have said that everywhere. All the Indian folks, they tell the kids, don't be out there in the dark. There's stuff out there,
We are part Indian. I'm sure that's where she got it from too.
Mm-hmm.
But well, you got anything else you want to bring out? It's a 6:30.
Boy, if we keep on yakking, more stuff keeps popping up. I've wrote down 4 different things that I wasn't thinking about.
If you
Just while we're talking.
you could go ahead and talk about it.
Well, I did. That's stuff we already talked about, but it's just the more I think about this stuff, the more I realize what something weird that happened that could be very well related. And it just goes on and on.
Make notes on if you think of other stuff, and we can do a second show.
Yeah, you
That,
betcha.
we may if it's not a lot, we can get somebody else to come on and do 2 people on the show too, to get enough things. But is anybody else? I'm sorry.
I'm glad to share. I mean, if anything I say makes sense to anybody else and it helps them to figure out something's going on, man, that's awesome.
Does anybody else have any questions you want to ask Renee? You know who he is now when he's in there. I cannot. What is that word?
Skidder operator.
Skidder. I just do skid, not skitter. Skidder operator. You'll know who he is now.
Yeah, I'm just an old retired logger. I still do a little skidding. I have a skidder of my own. I still do putting in driveways and stuff for people. And if I had to, I'd go back to logging. But these young folks anymore, a lot of them are on drugs, and I don't want to work with them.
Yeah. They don't do any drug testing for that job?
No, because they'll have too hard of a time finding guys that'll do it. There's no benefits or insurance. I mean, no retirement. You can go get a better job somewhere else real easy. It ain't as hard or as dangerous. So hardly anybody wants to do it.
Yeah.
I know I could get a job tomorrow running logging equipment if I wanted to, but the people they put me with, half of them are on drugs. And they don't want to do anything all day. And then they see me running circles around them and they hate my guts.
Yeah. I heard that from my husband before he retired. He talked about that a lot. He's a carpenter.
I don't have to put up with it, so I don't. At least so far. Who knows what tomorrow brings?
Yeah. Well,
I know tomorrow's bringing Jesus. That's my my main thing. This here wicked world's going to get cleaned up. This evil's going to stop when he gets here.
It's going to change.
It's big time.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, that's about all I can think of right off the top of my head and what I've got wrote down.
Okay. Everybody in the chat, please don't think we're ignoring you. We're just not adapt really good yet at.
I think we got everybody.
Well, yeah, but
it wasn't a lot.
Yeah, it wasn't a lot, but we do appreciate you getting on and watching and spreading the word to other people, and just appreciate y'all being here, and we appreciate Renee for doing the show, and we're gonna go out. Renee, stay on, and thank y'all again.
Okay.
You betcha. I hope we help somebody figure something out.
Did somebody put something?
I did.
You
if I get to come up, there it goes.
You got a question or something?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. We'll see y'all next week if nothing happens, everybody. And sorry that for some reason the thumbnail didn't go out. We had trouble when we got in here, but I got it figured out about the time to get on. But we appreciate y'all.
Thank you, Sherry and Donna.
Thank you. You stay
everybody
on.
Have a wonderful weekend.
Stay on, Renee. Okay.
Little bit of beep, 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 that's a monster meter. I'm a southern Appalachian Sasquatch seeker. Looking in a cave, looking in a hollow, looking on a mountain, looking in the water. Little bit of beep, 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 that's a monster meter. I'm a southern Appalachian Sasquatch seeker. We're going seeking, gonna see what we can find, gonna look high and low and around, and maybe we'll find just what we're looking for. It don't matter if it's night or day, rain or shine, we won't stop till we find just what we're looking for. Some say they might be the devil, others say they're the masters of the woods. Well, I don't know and I don't care, but I'll tell you this, I know the real. When we hear that howl as it's coming closer, and we feel the thunder of the steps, will we look it face to face, or will we just run? Some say they might be the devil, others say they're the masters of the woods. Well, I don't know and I don't care, but I'll tell you this, I know they're real. When we hear that howl as it's coming closer, and we feel the thunder of the steps, will we look it face to face, or will we just